Hey, we're the Paper Kites, and you're watching 1019 KINK Radio in the Skype Live studio.
All right, the Paper Kites in the Skype Live studio. Thanks so much for making a stop on your tour and coming to see us. You are opening up for Passenger tonight at the Crystal Ballroom. Sold out show. And you're touring with Passenger this month and next month? Pretty much?
We've been on tour with him for the last while. We did Australia and New Zealand with him as well. So I think we've got another 2 weeks still.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, real briefly, your album that you released in 2015. It's called 12/4. And I know you get asked about this probably quite a bit, but it was an interesting concept that you decided to approach this album with, where you sat up from midnight to 4 a.m. and wrote the songs on this album. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think we kind of came off the back of an album and we didn't really have the pressure of like a Rocket to Fame album or anything like that. So we didn't have to follow it up with anything that was had to meet any standards. So the album was kind of just a project that could kind of stand on its own 2 feet and it didn't have to really be anything. So I was just looking for something that I found interesting, like an interesting idea to kind of explore. And I'm really interested in the idea of kind of late night music and what that means, and kind of the album that you put on when you get home from wherever it is you've been that night. Because I have a lot of bands that I really love that I kind of would peg as like a late night band. So I kind of wanted to explore that a little bit, and the idea of making music, kind of reversing your sleep patterns and writing under the idea that you could let a song be whatever it wanted to be and you didn't have to be so analytical about it, because I think it's easy to do that when you kind of have a clear mind. So I kind of wanted to intentionally put myself in a place where I couldn't think too much about what the album should be, because I think you can get very distracted by people's expectations. And yeah, the idea was to be just so tired that you just write anyway. So I had about 30 songs by the end of it, and yeah, cut down the album from that.
How many sessions did you do that? I mean, how many nights?
I did it for about 2 months.
Okay,
yeah.
that's quite a while. Now, moving forward, what have you taken from that experience in songwriting? Are you still trying to put the analytical aspect behind you? And
I think you're always trying to do that, yeah. Because whenever you get too much inside your head, I think that's when you start kind of losing a bit of what it is that makes songwriting great. You know, you don't want to think about it too much. That's not to say that, you know, songs just come naturally. Like, they don't. You do have to think about what it is you're doing. But my idea behind doing this and what I took away from it was really kind of experimenting with capturing a mood on a record, which is, I think, really important to do. I mean, you can write a song and you can put a bunch of songs together, but they may not necessarily make you feel a certain way. They might just be a collection of songs. But I'm really intentionally trying to write music that evokes a particular feeling for people, and that's kind of what I wanted to do on that record. And I think that's what I took away from it as well, is that a lot of people that have heard this album seem to kind of resonate with the idea of, you know, that period of the evening where kind of everyone else is asleep and it's kind of just you and whatever it is you're listening to. I think a lot of people seem to create during that time as well, and they relate to it. So yeah, it was really cool to talk to people about it and see that it wasn't just an idea. It seems to be a thing that people are doing. So
before we go any further, can you please introduce the rest of your band, the Paper Kites?
Yes. So my name is Sam. This is Christina on the keyboard and guitar. Yeah, you can play. Back here on the bass guitar, that's Mr. Sam Rasmussen. On the guitar over here, that's Dave Powers. And on the drums, that's Josh Bentley.
So 12/4 was released in 2015. I don't think it's too soon now to ask you about your next album. What are you thinking for that?
Well, funnily enough, this is the year that we're supposed to be doing it. And we had planned to finish touring at the end of last year and get really stuck into it this year. But then we got offered this tour, and so it keeps getting pushed back. But I think when we get home, we'll be getting straight into it. So
Get down to work.
yes, yes.
So you've got a couple more weeks. This is, I think Josh mentioned, this is not your first time in Portland.
No, we've been here a few times. We played Mississippi Studios, which was fun. We've played a front room of a venue. I think one of the first times we were here, they kind of just crammed us in this front room. It was really fun. Yeah, but I think Portland's one of those places that we feel like we're still kind of getting the vibe of what it's like here. So I think we need to do a bit more exploring. But we love coming here. So
Good. Well, we like having you. And then you are heading down to California, so you won't get much time on this tour to check out Portland, but maybe next time around on the next album.
yes, I think we have 2 hours maybe before we have to be at the venue. So we just kind of do everything in Portland.
So what do you, when you're in a new town and you do have time to explore, what do you seek out? I mean, I have to imagine that you're not all going around at the same places. You're all exploring different venues.
Yeah, everyone has different passions and interests. So some of us are looking for the best coffee, and others are looking for the nicest park or
The best record store.
yeah.
Music Millennium. Luckily, in Portland, you don't have to go far for a good coffee shop or even a good park. So the 2 hours should be well spent. Thank you again so much for taking time to play for us in the Skype Live studio. Ladies and gentlemen, Paper Kites.
Thanks.